Hi, good afternoon. This is Lunch with Laura. I'm sorry, this is a little dark. Let me see if I can get the lighting just a little bit better. That's a little bit better. Anyway, this is Lunch with Laura. Thank you for spending a little bit of your lunch with me. Today we're going to be talking about two words of wisdom that 2016 Laura would tell I'm sorry, not 2000. Let me start over. Okay. Today we're going to be talking about what 2016 Laura would say to 1986 Laura. ah! Oh my goodness, it's been 30 years. I can't believe it, but I was thinking about this earlier and I was like, wow, it's been 30 years since I met my ex. I was in high school, graduating in class of 86, and I thought, it was so cool to say, no tricks in 86, we're going to be the ones who change the world. I was 17, give me a little bit of grace, okay? But anyway, I just thought I could conquer the world. And after I graduated from high school, 2 months later is when I met my ex. And I was thinking back, and I said, Lord, what did I have in common? That was the main thing that I had asked myself, when a year before I filed for divorce. I said, how did I get here? And what did I have in common with this man that's in my house? And I really felt the Lord answered me. And some of the things that he said was difficult to swallow. It was a bitter, bitter pill to swallow, and it was sour in my stomach. But here are the two words of wisdom that if I could go back in time and talk to 1986 Laura, this is what I would say to her. That beautiful 17-year-old girl who had so much promise and talent. This is what I would say to her. Number one, know your identity. Know who you are. Your identity is so closely linked with your worth, knowing how much you're worth, knowing what not to settle for. All of those things really tie in or are interwoven into our identity. And so that would be the number one thing I would tell 1986 Laura. Know who you are. Know your identity. Because from there, I would have realized that there are so many things that are so far beneath what I should have accepted in a relationship. They were so far beneath what I should have been looking for a proper person to get into a relationship with. It was really knowing my worth. I would have understood to wait to get into a serious relationship. That's number one, because I had other priorities in mind. I was there to go to school and study, and I did very well. I did do that. I did go to school and study and do very well. So I won't say that my grades suffered because of my relationship. That's not true. But I would say that there were so many things that I accepted that I thought was normal because I didn't know my worth. I had allowed things from my past and my childhood to give me that such a low self-esteem, to give me a false sense of my identity, which was so far below what God had said about me. I just wasn't walking with the Lord back when I was 17 like I am now. And so, there's grace and, all those things from when we're younger. We don't know any better. We're all a product of our environment. And, I was definitely a product of my environment. And I allowed the things that happened to me in my childhood to shape who I thought I was. And I really wasn't at a point where I was investigating who God wanted me to be, who God said who I was, and who God was training me and forming and fashioning me to become. The woman he wanted me to become. The person he wanted to step into her destiny and her purpose and really exercise and work and operate in the full measure of the gifts and talents God has given me. And if anybody who's watching this, who's younger, who still might be in your 20s, please know and understand, if you don't already, that there are so many things that God wants to bring to fullness, to full measure in your life. And so sometimes things like relationships might have to take a back seat, because God is working on you and he has his perfect timing and a lot of things he wants to do when we're young because it's such an important time, that 10-year period between the time you're 15 and the time you're 25. You make such important decisions that shape your life. Just know that, sometimes God says put the romantic thing on a back seat because I've got other things that I'm training you up to do in this important, critical 10-year time period. So just keep those things in mind. Now, if you're like me and well beyond that time period, that's okay because God redeems time. It doesn't mean that it's too late. We still have breath in our lungs. He's the one who put the breath in our lungs. And so I'm certainly not saying that. I'm not saying that. I'm not speaking that over myself, and I'm not speaking that over you, okay? It's not too late. It just means they might have other things that, we have to factor in, like kids and stuff like that. And that's fine. God is God of strategy and wisdom and revelation and understanding. And he will give us strategy and give us, the blueprints that we need even now to go ahead and fulfill all the things that he wants us to do. Okay? So number one is know your identity. That's what I would say to 1986 Laura. And the second thing is know and understand what God says about men, relationships, and marriage. Come to a true understanding about that. If you're considering getting into a serious relationship or making the relationship that you're in now a serious relationship or taking it to a higher level, or even if you're married now, it's not too late to really sit down and investigate, and hopefully that, your husband will do the same. Will really sit down and want to study with you and understand, if I would have realized and understood what marriage was, that it's a blood covenant and not a contract, not just a contract, rather, I never would have married my ex. I never would have done that. And so, obviously I forgive myself. I forgive him. I've gone through so much, working through so much forgiveness and understanding and all the things that I needed to do to get to the place where I'm at now. And I'm still a work in progress. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a work in progress, but I am so far beyond where I started. I was such an angry teenager, and that's really what I had in common with my ex. We were both angry young people because there were certain woundings that we had. We were both abused as kids, and we allowed that to shape who we thought we were and to shape our outlook on relationships and people and marriage and all of those things. And so, we spent the better part of our lives just really still fighting through that and not coming to an understanding, at least for me, not until really the last 10 years that God has really brought me to a point where he has brought me to such a better and deeper understanding of his character and nature and how he views how we're supposed to relate to one another, whether it's just friendships, with me and my my girlfriends who I just hang out with and we just have a good time, or if it is a romantic relationship with a man, and so just know that it's so important to understand what God says about marriage and relationships and how we're to support one another and love one another and complement one another, because we have different strengths and talents and abilities. And some things are kind of common, strengths that men have and common strengths that women have that complement each other. There's not necessarily one better than the other or one that's more valuable or stronger than the other. It's that they complement, and they were meant to complement. We were meant to fit together like a piece, like a puzzle. And, those are really the two pearls, the two words of wisdom that 2016 Laura, if I could reach back to 1986 Laura, I would tell her that. Up until 2 years ago, I spent my entire adult life with my ex. And I'm not saying that it was time wasted. I'm not saying that he was never worthy of any love and affection. I'm not saying that. I'm simply saying because I didn't understand what marriage was and what I should look for in relationships, I spent that time with the wrong person. Not saying that he's worthless. That's absolutely not true. I'm simply saying he was wrong for me. And so I know that he's going to be a great husband. God willing, that he, submits his life to the Lord, and he's going to be a great husband to somebody else. And I'm going to be a great wife to the man that God is still fashioning and, working on him and working on me, that we'll be ready for one another when we do meet, because I don't think we've met yet. But so just hold on to that. If you are at a place where you hit like an anniversary or a milestone like me, it's been 30 years, so that's my milestone. You're starting to think about these things. Think about them in the ways that you've grown. Think about them in a positive light. Please don't sit and think about, oh my God, look how much time has passed, and I have so much regret because, I should have done things differently when I was younger, or I let too much time pass before I made a change and ended my relationship, if that's what you did, or, learned more about God. Whatever it is that you felt like you should have done before, take a deep breath, pull back, and simply say, you know what, but I know better today. I'm going to take a word from Maya Angelou. When you know better, you do better. That's what Maya Angelou said. And she was absolutely right. When you know better, you do better. So when you did have the courage to step out and make a change, I'm going to celebrate you. You did do it. Some people never do it, but you did. And so I celebrate you. I congratulate you. And I just say, let me speak a word of encouragement. I break off any spirit of discouragement, any spirit of anxiety, any spirit of bitterness and regret over the things that you thought you should have changed earlier, or the decisions that you thought were bad decisions that you felt like you lost time out of your life. I break that off you in the name of Jesus. And I speak life over you, and I speak hope, and I simply say that it's not too late for you. If you still have breath in your lungs like me, I'm going to December, I'm going to be turning 48. So if I'm saying it's not too late for me, I don't care if you're older than 48. It's not too late for you, okay? So take that, meditate on that. Let it really be stamped and ingrained into your heart and into your mind. Sometimes we can understand things intellectually, but it's still not branded on our heart. Let that meditate and soak and be branded into your heart, and believe it. Say it. You get to a point where you can say it like it's second nature. You can say it in your sleep. You can say it's not too late for me. Whatever God has, if you have a business that you want to start, if there was certain things you always wanted to do that are on your bucket list, it's not too late. It's absolutely not too late. So I hope that you found that encouraging. So, and also I'll be talking about this in my blog that'll come out in a couple of hours. I'm still working on it just a little bit. There is actually a picture that I'm trying to find back from 1986 that I want to put on my blog. So that's the only reason why it didn't come out this morning. I need to go find it. So anyway, so it'll come out a little bit later on today. So absolutely keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you for spending a little bit of your lunch with me today. This is Lunch with Laura, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care. Have a good day.